My name's Steve and I love people who make things.
You might need to take off your trousers, and we see...
A number of times people have asked me to take off my trousers in a workshop hand. They sit at the heart of our communities, spreading wealth across the country.
I look forward to Mondays.
I love Mondays too.
And I'm going to die here. I'm never going to retire.
The isolation is great. No crowds apart from the tourists and sheep.
And the occasional podcaster like me. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
These are uncertain economic times. Keep our manufacturers alive and we'll thrive.
We all learn how to do everything here because there's so few of us left.
It is becoming a little harder to get young kids out of college that want to get their hands dirty and learn some of these very traditional art forms.
Join me as we compile a list of the greatest items made in the UK and hear stories from inside our factories.
My father has a phrase, he said, you should plan like you're going to live forever and live like you're going to die tomorrow, which I think is a very good way of looking at it.
We need you to live much longer than that, Martin. Welcome to the factory next door and welcome to the very pretty village of Sandford in Somerset. Now, you and I are just stood on the road cutting through the village, actually. Got a lovely church, a lovely village pub called the Railway Inn that looks amazing. Surrounded by rolling green hills. Now then, if you saw the episode title, you would have seen that we are here to celebrate a drink again. Now, you may be thinking, well, we've only just celebrated a drink on this series. You'd be right, but I think it is very, very justified because the food and drink industry is the UK's biggest manufacturing sector. And I've come here because Thatchers Cider is here and they've got a great story to tell. I cannot wait for us to hang out with them. I'm going to pop into reception and say hello. Whilst I do that, you have a listen to what's coming up in this week's show.
For me, it's where I learnt a lot about the different apple varieties. It's almost like a massive apple library.
What's unique about all family businesses is...
Yeah, definitely. I think you have new ideas. You know, you're a different generation.
A collection of sticks is quite a good description of these at the moment.
The investments and the planning you have to make is so long term.
Chris staring at us there from outside. Don't hit my tree.
I think this will be just one of the most stunning orchards in the whole county.
If not the whole UK, Martin.
Let's make it.
Actually, let's go to the world. I don't know if you can hear that, but the birds are singing and we are stood in a very beautiful orchard.
Martin Thatcher, cider maker.
Eleanor Thatcher, 5th generation cider maker.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. Now I say we're stood in an orchard. I'm actually jumping to conclusions there. Are we stood in an orchard, Martin?
We're stood in a very special orchard. This orchard has 458 different varieties of cider apples. And we have come at the perfect time of year when the blossom is out and the bees and the insects are busy buzzing around.
It does look amazing with the kind of the white, pinkish flowers all popping up. Can I just ask to clarify something? Did you say there was 450 different varieties? Yeah. Not 450 plants?
So this orchard has 458 different varieties, and really my father started it 25 years ago to preserve all the cider varieties that were originally propagated at Long Ashton Research Station, just 10-12 miles up the road from here. And Long Ashton was where all the cider research was done for the whole of the cider industry.
Given the economic heft of the beverages industry, I'm surprised that they shut it down. But never mind, Eleanor, tell me what you love about this field. I'm going to go straight into love.
So for me, there's some very fond memories out here because I used to come out and still do come out with my grandfather. So we've got a map and we know which variety every tree is, and we would come out and kind of look at the different apples, taste the different apples, and for me it's where I learnt a lot about the different apple varieties. It's almost like a massive apple library.
It's a lovely way to describe it, an apple library. I love that. That's exactly what it is. Can I be really unfair and point to one and say, what's that one?
I don't know them all off by heart yet.
Amazing bird singing. Do we know any of is anyone here an ornithologist? Look at that, lovely. That looks like a wren, maybe.
We saw a green woodpecker in here a few weeks ago. So that was really nice. The orchards really are a haven for wildlife, and we really encourage it. We plant a lot of wildflowers in our orchard, but we also know that apple trees are really good at creating a great environment for lots of bees and different insects. We also see hares as well, which are truly beautiful, and you don't really see them that often, but we've got 2 hares that we see in one of our orchards fairly regularly. So
Have you named them?
it's very nice. No, not yet. Maybe we should aim them after apple varieties. That would be quite nice.
Over the generations, if you look how it's gone, my great-grandfather started off here as Myrtle Farm as a farmer and made some cider that he paid his farm workers and probably drank quite a bit of it himself. But that's what happened in Somerset. You know, the cider was all important around the countryside and around the farms. My grandfather came along and he was much more into making cider, and he was a fabulously sociable man. My father then, third generation, came along, passionate about growing apple trees, and a lot of the orchard work we've done has stemmed from his good counsel over the last 5 or 6 decades. And then I came along, and I always wanted to be a farmer. I didn't want to be a cider maker, but I soon realised, working back here for a year or so, that actually cider making was a lot of fun, and I've really focused on cider making ever since.
Let's try some. Eleanor, tell me what you just poured us.
So this is our single variety Katie cider, so it's just made out of the Katie apple. It's quite unique in style because it's very light, high acidity. A lot of people have it as kind of like instead of Prosecco or champagne. So
Okay, I can't wait. Oh, a lovely smell. It's very light.
yeah, people have it for their weddings, and it's the reception drink. It's quite nice.
I can totally understand that. Eleanor, looking ahead then, you're the future. How do you ensure that these brands and this drink more widely actually stays relevant to future generations?
Yeah, I think it'll be new products and also kind of driving the business forward into kind of the next 20, 30 years looks like. So I think it's really exciting. We actually last year installed CO2 recovery, so we capture the CO2 from our fermentations, which is in that environment is a byproduct, and then we put it back in as carbonation or as bubbles into our pints, which is really great to kind of have a closed loop and not waste anything. I think as farmers we don't want to waste anything. That's not in our nature to kind of be wasteful. And I think our apprenticeship program, we've kind of brought a lot of younger people into the business, which I think is really exciting.
Okay, turning into a field. Oh, this doesn't look as nice as the other one, Martin.
Oh, this is a magnificent orchard.
I'm looking at a load of fresh sticks coming up out of the ground. You showed me one full of bloom and
Yes.
pink
this
petals.
will be amazing when it's finished.
Let's go have a look. Chris, very nice to meet you.
And you? Yeah, hello.
So Martin and Eleanor have very kindly just driven us up here. Chris, I've just been in the apple library, which is beautiful, and it's all in bloom, and you've driven me up here. Martin has driven me up here, and it's just a load of sticks coming up out of the ground. But he tells me this is amazing, and this is his favourite field. Why is that?
Yeah, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? It's a collection of sticks is quite a good description of these at the moment. But here we are. We're looking over this field that we're stood in is about 4,000 Katie sticks, and they're still very young trees. But these were planted about 3 weeks ago, and this is our newest orchard that we've planted, and it's going to be very exciting for the future.
How long will it take for them to mature to the point where you're able to harvest them?
To get apples, you need a fruit bud. So fruit bud generally sort of grows on 2-year-old wood. So this bit of branch here is going to have some fruit bud on it. So next year it'll have some fruit bud, which will have blossom, and then hopefully some apples. But we probably won't be enough apples out here to harvest until they've been in the ground for 3 years.
It's quite a commitment.
It is, and you've got to remember we're not going to get to full cropping in this orchard till sort of 8 years plus. So yeah, it is a long-term commitment.
That's quite. Martin, can I have a chat to you about this, because that is quite a commitment in terms of looking ahead and forecasting and, kind of confidence in your market going forward, you're looking at kind of 3, 4, 5 years ahead?
I think the cider industry is unique in how far we have to look forward, because, as Chris rightly said, it's probably 8 years before we get to a full crop. Don't forget, we've already had this field for 3 years preparing it, and as Chris said, the tree has been grown in the nursery for 2 years before we've even planted it. And the reason we've had this field for 3 years is we've used regenerative agriculture techniques to improve the soil. And as you will see, the reason why I feel this is a beautiful site, and in a minute we're going to drive up to the top of the orchard and you can get a magnificent view across the whole
I feel bad
orchard.
about being mean to it now, Martin.
You'll see the difference between the green stripes down the middle of the grass and then the brown where the trees are planted, where the soil's been turned over. But we've used herbal ley and sheep to graze it for the last 3 years. And the combination of the sheep grazing the grass and recycling it back into the soil and their little feet pounding the soil has improved, we estimate, the soil quality by 20% in 3 years. And that is pretty incredible. And when you think this orchard will be here for 50 plus years, to have the soil just right when we plant the trees is so important. But it's done in such a natural way that it gives the trees the best chance of growing and growing really well.
Careful, don't hit one of the trees, Martin. Expertly driven there. Chris staring at us there from outside. Don't hit my tree.
As you can see, now we're up at the top of the hill looking down. You can see this is magnificent. It's the contrast between the brown soil where the trees have been planted and the green grass in the middle. I think this will be just one of the most stunning orchards on the whole farm and probably in the whole county.
If not the whole UK, Martin.
Let's make it.
Actually, let's go the world. Hi, I want to quickly jump in here because I am delighted to say that our show has a new partner, and one with a long history of helping manufacturers optimise their operations. Aviva is a leader in industrial intelligence. It was founded almost 50 years ago in Cambridge. Today, its software connects and empowers people to improve plant productivity, sustainability, business agility. And if you're interested in manufacturing, which I'm guessing you are if you're hanging out with me, Aviva's got a newsletter. Do sign up for it. Go to www.aveva.com/factory. I'll put the link in the show notes. My thanks to Aviva for supporting the factory next door and for supporting our makers. I just want to chat about confidence because when I started this show, probably about 18 months ago, there was a verve to companies I was going to see. And it just feels, truth be told, that in recent months, there's been quite a dent in business confidence. And I just wondered, and I suspect that comes from a variety of reasons, but I just wondered, is that something you could relate to or understand, or perhaps you don't? You're actually still very confident going ahead.
So I think one thing that all businesses want is certainty and predictability. So if you know interest rates are going to be at 3% this year, next year, and for the next 5 years, it allows you to invest with confidence and you know what you're doing. People lose their confidence when uncertainty comes in for whatever reason, and that's always bad for business, I think. The thing about a family business and cider in particular is the investments and the planning you have to make is so long term that you can't afford to lose confidence, or you can't afford to stop planning for the future, because if you stop now, the repercussions happen in 10 years' time, say. So you have to. There is a certain amount you have to keep planning ahead. My father has a phrase. He said, "You should plan like you're going to live forever and live like you're going to die tomorrow," which I think is a very good way of looking at it.
We need you to live much longer than that, Martin. Let's get out and have a little look.
This is what we do. It's not a job. It's too good to be a job.
We've talked a lot about kind of, or you've mentioned a few times about the family business.
Yeah.
Was Eleanor always going to come into this business?
No, I mean, Eleanor is my daughter, Peter's my younger son, and we've never forced them to come into it. But let's just think about this just for a second. You're at the foot of the Mendip Hills today. We're stood out in a magnificent orchard in the sunshine, and you work hard to produce a superb product that you can drink and celebrate at the end of the day. I'm not quite sure what the hardship is. I mean, it's an easy choice to make, surely.
I was never kind of forced into the business, but I've very much kind of grown up around it. So my first job was weighing in all the fruit during harvest. So I do that in the summer holidays, and worked around different areas of the business and really kind of learning all the business kind of from the ground up. And like Dad said, it's not a job, it's a way of life. We absolutely love farming and making cider here in Somerset, and yeah, it's really important to us.
You love it as well, don't you?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Can I ask you a question for your podcast? Where did the idea behind doing this podcast come from?
When the hunter becomes the hunted.
Sorry.
I don't know how deep to get with you. When I graduated from university, I got a credit card with the sole purpose of buying a bespoke suit from the tailor I walked past when I lived and worked in Leeds. And I went in and I got my suit, and I was the best dressed call centre worker side of the M62. And so, you know, kind of, I always had that appreciation, and I loved, you know, he was called Keith Wilson, and I loved chatting to him and learning about his skills and what he did. And many years later, a couple of years ago, I was actually passing back through Leeds, and I thought, I'm going to wear my suit, because I still good. I'm going to wear my suit, and I'm going to go in, and he probably won't recognise me, but I can say, Keith, do you recognise your handiwork? You must have thought I was mad when I was getting a bespoke suit to work in a call centre, but in the end, the suit's done all right. It's, you know, gone to the House of Parliament, it's sat in presidential briefings, it's done okay for you. And I went there, and do you know what had happened? It was a chicken takeaway shop.
Oh.
And I just thought, that can't be right. And I've got to do something. And the timing worked with my career, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do something to celebrate people who make things. A love letter to people who make things.
Wow. I can relate to the wanting to kind of protect those skills and things that we make, because probably, as you would have seen in many of your other podcasts, you know, a lot of detail and knowledge goes into what people do, and it very much is the same for cider making.
Okay, Martin, where are we heading now?
We're heading back to Myrtle Farm to go and have a look at the oak vats. Right, so we're just driving past here. This is the original farmhouse, Myrtle Farm, that my great-grandfather came to in 1904, and my mum and dad still live here. This is our family home, and in the early days this is where all the decisions of the business were made, around the kitchen table at Myrtle Farm.
It's lovely. It's in the centre of the village, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, traditionally, of course, it's right by the church, the pub's just there, and the farmhouse is there. Those were the three most important things in the village: the farmer, the publican, and the vicar.
Do you need to pop in and say hello to Mum and Dad?
Already spoken to them this morning. They're a big part of what we do.
So next to Mum and Dad's farm, giant warehouse, re-tarmacking the road just outside of the factory. Oh my word! We go into the side. It's well, there's giant vats everywhere. Oh my word! So, to give an idea of the size of these vats, I mean, they are probably, what is that, 20 metres?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they're pretty big.
20 metres high and I mean a good 5 metres wide, I would have thought. And there's loads of them, they're everywhere.
Yeah, there's quite a few in here. So these are very old, and for us the only way to know if the cider's ready in the oak vats is to actually taste directly from them, and every different cider takes a different amount of time and maturation. There's not one set rule. So yeah, Richard spends a lot of time along with Dad and I tasting the cider in here.
Are you always here tasting the cider, Richard?
We taste every batch we make, we taste every day. It's a very, very important part of the process.
And how long have you worked here, Richard?
I've been here just over 15 years now. So I've seen quite a lot of cider passing through here.
Can I ask what you did before you came here 15 years ago?
I'm a microbiologist by training, which is why it's good for cider making. So it's all about making yeast do what you want them to do, making the right flavours. But I've worked in a very small amount in human diseases. I worked in Cambridge in antibiotics, which wasn't anywhere near as interesting as cider making. So I jumped ship and became a cider maker.
What prompted the move from the lab to actually a factory?
Yeah, I mean, it happened quite naturally. I was the lab manager, and I looked out of the window one day when I got bored with just doing tests, and I thought, I wonder what they're doing in those buildings over there. So I walked across and I asked people what they were doing, and I kind of realised that the application of my science knowledge was exactly what was happening in the process, so it was very relevant.
So, and now you enjoy being outside.
I enjoy every bit of it. Inside,
making things and tasting.
In the vat shed's as good as being in the orchard, but this time of year the orchards are spectacular. You know, the blossom's out and there's nowhere better to be, really.
Walking between these vats, it's quite something, isn't it? It's like going through a canyon.
Yeah, so if you can see those two lighter coloured slats of wood there, you can see the contrast. So we started to notice that this vat was leaking, and cider started to come out. So obviously we emptied it out, got our cooper in. There's only kind of one cooper left in the UK, but he has got an apprentice now, which is great. And so he said, right, we need this type of wood, and he came back, put it in, so we filled it up with water for a trial, and it still was leaking. So we thought, gosh, why? But the tree was too young, and therefore the grain wasn't tight enough, so he had to come back and fit 2 new pieces of oak. So I think that just shows the kind of skill and expertise of
Now I don't want you to hit me, Eleanor, but would it have just been easier just to buy a steel vat?
No, these are really beautiful, and very much an important part of cider making, and for us at Thatchers, what's really important and unique to us is we understand the importance of traditional techniques, but also pair that with modern technology to make the best quality cider that we can.
Excellent soundbite.
Hi, my name's Leo and my dad is Steve, host of this show. People often don't realise he does the factory next door all by himself. The recording, the editing, even the illustrations on Instagram. He's mildly talented, but he still needs a large amount of external validation. I guess as he grows up, he'll learn to be more self-confident like me. But until then, it'd be great if you could star the show on Apple or Spotify. Maybe even leave a nice review. Thanks! I'll let you get back to the show now.
You mentioned, unfortunately, when I wasn't recording, so it's my fault, but I'm going to bring it up again. You mentioned the responsibility you feel, and I'm really interested in hearing that from you, Martin. And then I'm going to ask Eleanor about it as well, coming in. The sense of responsibility you feel as a family business, presumably to the people who came before you and to the workforce.
So on one of your other podcasts, you asked somebody, do they sleep at night? And they laughed. And of course, running a business is never easy, and there are tons of sleepless nights, and they're either because you're worried about something or because your mind's wearing away with what you might do in the future. But I think what's unique about all family businesses is they have a sense of responsibility, and a responsibility first and foremost to the people they employ. And Eleanor and I certainly feel that the decisions that we and the other senior people in the business make have to be right, because we are looking after 260 families, and it's our responsibility to make sure that they get paid at the end of the month and they can pay their mortgage, etc., etc. And then as farmers, we have a responsibility to the environment, to making sure that we look after the environment. And we've been out in the orchard and you see all the things we're doing, and it works very naturally with apple trees, but we try and do our best to make that as good as we possibly can. And then I suppose you have your individual responsibility, that I'm fourth generation, that 3 generations before me have done a fabulous job, that I want to do at least as well, if not better than them, so that I can hand it on to the 5th generation in an even better way.
Oh, Eleanor, that's a lot of responsibility coming your way.
I think I would kind of echo what Dad said around that responsibility, and it's kind of a family business. And I think for me, kind of learning the business and kind of getting to know the people and the cider industry, I think, it's exciting. And
are you kind of already starting to think, I think we might push out this way, I think we might do that slightly different? Are you already starting to think of things, how do I diplomatically put it, how you evolve from Martin?
Yeah, I think that's a good word, is evolve. Definitely. I think you have new ideas. You know, you're a different generation. I think, you know, the biggest benefit about a family business is, you know, Dad still has his dad around to kind of go, well, what about this then? And the dad will kind of be here and to kind of ask those questions. And I think we spend a lot of time, you know, sat around the kitchen table talking about things, and we don't always have the same view on things. And I think that's kind of good to kind of challenge and bring in new ideas.
How do you resolve those differences?
Go for a drink at the pub.
Everything is easier to resolve with a drink in hand. Martin, final question. And I'm not wishing for the moment where you pass on the baton, but you've talked yourself about how that moment will come along. What do you think you'll be feeling like? Will it be relief?
Well, I think if it works really well, neither of us will probably notice. Just Eleanor will be taking more and more responsibility, and it will pass to her to making the decisions, and I probably won't even notice if we've done it well.
What a beautiful sentiment to end on. Eleanor, Martin, thank you so much for chatting to me this morning.
Thank you. You're welcome. Great to meet you.
Great to see you.
Into our shed of greatness goes the Somerset Cider by Thatchers. My thanks to the Thatchers family for welcoming us into their beautiful orchards. And thanks to you for your messages. Bill from Philly, it's great to share the days with you. Bluntshank, awesome custom trainers, even if you're not using the old gimping machine these days. AC East, I'm grateful for the review on Apple. Okay, let's make a deal. In 2 weeks, let's hang out again in a different workshop. For now, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're happy. Until next time, bye. My thanks again to our new partner, Aviva. They're such a good fit for the show because they're in the business of helping manufacturers, and they've been doing it for more than 50 years. A leader in industrial intelligence, Aviva's software connects and empowers people to improve plant productivity, sustainability, and business agility. Just a reminder that Aviva's got a newsletter, and if you're interested in manufacturing, please do sign up for it. Go to www.aveva.com/factory. Again, I'm going to put the link in the show notes. My thanks to Aviva for supporting the factory next door.